In 2025, we saw a lot of companies go through major layoffs, canceled games, and even face lots of backlash. But in terms of Japanese titles, things have been going really well, and it seems that the Western video game industry could learn a thing or two from them. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, even the games that came out this year that were inspired by Japanese titles like Claire Obscure Expedition 33, those did really well. But in terms of the Avoweds and the Outer Worlds 2s, and of course the Assassin's Creeds, those have not gone so smoothly. But we are hearing that Japanese companies have been doing extremely well. Their titles have been doing really good. And this is why we are looking to other markets. This is why Japanese companies got so big so quickly, because people were sick and tired of the same boring rehashed titles coming out in the Western world. And so we look towards other regions. Right now, Chinese developers are doing really good, South Korean devs, Japanese devs, they are doing fantastic because people are looking into other markets, looking for other forms of entertainment. And well, now the biggest story in Japanese games this year was, of course, the long awaited release of the Switch 2. Released in 2017, the original Switch changed the landscape, allowing gamers to play the same games at home or on the move, selling 154 million units worldwide and dominating the hardware and software charts in Japan month after month. Meanwhile, 2025 gave rise to a whole new category of high-end handheld game devices like Valve's Steam Deck. But after 8 years, the relatively underpowered hardware was showing its age, and the appetite for a successor couldn't have been higher. But it's not just hardware that has done really good, it is also software. There are bold steps that Nintendo is taking, and yes, there have been a few Japanese flops over the year, but more successes than losses, that's for sure. In Japan, Nintendo took the bold step of releasing a region-locked version of the domestic market priced around $100 less than in the West that allowed it to continue its dominance of the console market here, and momentum has continued despite a fairly small library of exclusive games. It says, though, Pokemon Legends Z-A evolved the spin-off Legends series a fair amount, offering a grand and nostalgic adventure and fun characters and side quests, and of course, it did sell like hot Pikachus, 5.8 million copies in its first week, half of them on the Switch and half on the Switch 2. Now, I personally did not like Pokemon Legends Z-A. It was one of my biggest disappointments of the year. I didn't think it was the worst game I've ever played. I just feel like they didn't innovate a lot. It felt very lazy. It felt very basic, and I didn't jive with it. But regardless, it did sell extremely well. And also the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the follow-up to 2023's insanely successful The Super Mario Bros. Movie, was announced alongside a smattering of smaller new games and re-releases. Now, things were a little less rosy for Sony. While PlayStation 5 continues to sell well overseas, a steep price increase in Japan in 2024 all but killed the momentum there for the platform. Now, Capcom is really one of the companies that is struggling right now. The highly anticipated release of Monster Hunter Wilds in February met with mixed reception. Selling 8 million copies within 3 days, it became developer Capcom's fastest-selling game to date. It is also the biggest seller on PS5 in Japan so far, but sales grinded to a halt. It faced a massive amount of backlash. It is sitting at overwhelmingly negative user reviews due to technical issues that tarnished the reputation of the franchise and contributed to a drop in Capcom's share price. But if we look at some of the other companies, most major Japanese video game companies' stock prices soared this year. Konami, 47.26%, Square Enix, 38.70%, Sony, 26.20%, Nintendo, 16.81%, Bandai Namco, 12.33%. Capcom was up 8.31%, but we do know that damage has been done to them. Koei Tecmo, 4.21%, and Sega is negative 20.55%, which I think is funny. Sega is struggling right now, but if we even look into 2026, I do think we're also going to see more positive change with companies like Square Enix and also Sony because of how much they are halting their Western priorities. we'll call it. I've talked about it in many other videos. Some will be linked down below, but Sony is putting their foot down. They are demanding that their developers give them products. We saw with Naughty Dog, for example, they have missed several internal deadlines, and Sony is saying enough is enough. We need the internal demo as quickly as possible. So they are actually going through some crunch right now to get that done for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. We know, of course, Sony has fired lots of people that were affiliated with some of their biggest failures in 2024, like Concord. There are some major leadership shakeups in studios like Sucker Punch. The co-founder is now gone. They've put 2 new people in the role, which is definitely questionable. I don't really know why you would just up and quote unquote leave right after your game does well. If it did well, we don't know if it met their internal expectations. And then you have Square Enix, who is also announcing tons of layoffs across nearly all areas of its Western business in an all-hands meeting just a few months ago. And it seems that a lot of the Westerners that were making the decisions are now gone. They are getting rid of a lot of what I would consider to be activists, people who are convincing them to make their products for Western audiences when that shouldn't be the case. Japanese companies got successful because they were making different, unique, special products, and that is what they need to do. If they start focusing on making products for Japanese audiences again, their audience in the West will still buy their games because that's what made them special in the first place, because they weren't standard normal Western slop. Look at Forspoken, for example. I know that that wasn't 2025, but that did severe damage to them because it just wasn't made for a Japanese audience. It was supposed to be like their first major foray into the Western world, and that was a complete and utter failure. And we've also heard some creators in Japan come out and say Japanese media should focus on domestic audiences, not overseas. The Evangelion creator said, I think it can be accepted, but we can't adjust on our side. And this was a fantastic interview that was done. And he basically says that we should not be changing things for this new demographic, and I totally and completely agree with that. It is a major problem when companies shift their focuses. I know everybody wants to make as much money as possible, but you are only losing money by this strategy, and I want them to all go back to the way that they used to be. But if you look at sort of this list of Japanese games, right, while Capcom is facing the largest woes, you have something like Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, garnering an impressive 89% score on Metacritic. It sold pretty well. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 doing very good. The 2D HD remake. There is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater that met critical acclaim. And yes, I mean, you are talking about games that are doing pretty freaking well compared to Western developers releasing flops like Mindseye. Wow. Did that go horrifically? Basically, nobody played it. The developers came out and basically said there was this massive conspiracy surrounding their game, that they were being sabotaged by users and also the game's industry. Critics were harsh. Eurogamer called it an unmitigated disaster, and the combat was universally panned as some of the worst in recent AAA history. It reminded me a lot of Cyberpunk at release, where it was buggy, it was broken, it was not fleshed out. It really seemed like they rushed it out to just sell it as quickly as possible. Civ 7 came out. It faced a lot of issues. Its identity was a big problem. The age-based system, which reset objectives every few turns, stripped away the long-term planning that made the franchise famous. Gone was the feeling of building something lasting. Instead, every era felt like a time challenge with arbitrary rules, undermining progression and making tech trees, wonders, and even early game choices feel disposable. The game peaked at 85,000 concurrent players on Steam, then dropped below 9,000 within a month. Civ 6, now 8 years old, sold, which is crazy, consistently performed better. It debuted at number 125 during its launch week. For comparison, Civ 6 sold over 1 million PC copies in its first 2 weeks. FBC Firebreak was Remedy's latest title that was dead on arrival. I mean, nobody played it, and this was, yeah, one of the largest flops of the year. The gameplay was bad, the designs were bad. It launched with severe technical issues, and it deserved to fail. Assassin's Creed Shadows was supposed to be massive, but we don't know the exact sales numbers, right? They've only announced the player counts, which are very, very different. We do know that it faced major backlash at release. Then you have things like Little Nightmares 3, which underperformed. Obsidian has had a very bad year. Avowed came and went very quickly. The Outer Worlds 2 came and went very quickly, and it just doesn't look very positive in terms of the Western world of video games. So yes, it seems like Japanese devs are absolutely dominating right now, and maybe the Western world of video games, these developers, and maybe even the media will learn a thing or two from 2025, and they will actually take players' feedback into consideration, but I highly doubt it. Though that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.